If you've ever lost everything, because of people who thought they could take what's yours and get away with it, then listen closely. Because this story isn't just about revenge. It's about justice. It's about standing your ground when the world tells you to back down. My name's Daniel Hayes, and this is how my hometown's elite, HOA, stole my family's land, and how I turned the law they worshipped into the weapon that destroyed them. It all started on a Monday morning that smelled like rain and betrayal. I was sitting on my porch looking over the rolling hills of my ranch. Fun 500 acres of oak, river, and memory. My great-grandfather bought that land after returning from World War II. It wasn't just dirt and trees. It was the story of our family written in roots and stone. Every fence post was placed by hand. Every acre was fought for through droughts, debt, and time. Then the letter came. A crisp white envelope, with a seal from the Lakeside Property Owners Association, landed in my mailbox like a grenade. I tore it open, and my heart sank as I read. Per Section 14B of the revised Community Expansion Ordinance, the parcel of land known as Hayes Estate has been integrated into the jurisdiction of the Lakeside HOA, effective immediately. Integrated? Those weren't words for me. They were for lawyers. I wasn't part of their shiny, gated world. My land wasn't even in their development. But the letter went on to explain that the HOA had filed a territorial adjustment under a new zoning clause, claiming my acreage fell within their environmental stewardship district. In short, they'd found a legal loophole and used it to claim my land as their own. I thought it was a mistake, a bureaucratic mess. I called their office. They didn't pick up. I drove down to their glass building by the lake. The receptionist looked at me like I was a stray dog in a tuxedo shop. When the HOA president finally met me, he didn't shake my hand. "Mr. Hayes," he said, voice dripping with fake sympathy, "you should be grateful. This development will increase the value of your land. You'll be compensated fairly once the transaction clears." Transaction? That word burned. Within a month, surveyors were on my property. Bulldozers parked at the edge of my fields. And before I could even get a court date, my land, my family's land, was listed as a community expansion zone in their portfolio. They sold it off in parcels to luxury developers who promised lakeside living with rustic charm. Rustic charm. That was my home. The day the first house went up, I drove past and saw the foundation being poured where my father's barn once stood. I can still hear the hollow thud of the concrete truck, like a heartbeat going silent. I lost the land, the lawsuit, and nearly everything I had. But here's where most people would have given up. I didn't. Because while they were busy celebrating their victory, I was studying, day and night, every zoning law, every deed record, every HOA charter and land statute in the county archives. I was looking for the same kind of loophole they used against me. And one night, around 2 a.m., buried deep in a dusty binder of municipal codes, I found it. A single paragraph that would turn the tables forever. It read, "Any property governed under an HOA may be subject to sale or reassignment if the association fails to maintain public registration of ownership within county deadlines." Their multimillion-dollar mansions sat on properties the HOA technically owned, and the HOA had missed 3 consecutive registration renewals. They stole my land legally. So, I decided to legally sell theirs. And that, right there, was the moment everything changed. When people lose everything, they usually think revenge comes with fire and fury, smashing windows, shouting names, setting things ablaze. But the sweetest revenge, it's quiet. And it's irreversible. After the HOA took my land, I stopped sleeping for a while. I'd wake up to silence that used to be filled with the sound of cattle and cicadas. The house felt empty. Just me, stacks of paperwork, and a heart full of anger I didn't know what to do with. But when I found that forgotten paragraph, the one that said any HOA property could be sold off if ownership wasn't properly registered, something inside me lit up. It wasn't rage. It was purpose. So, I got to work. First thing I did was call my old friend Martha. She'd worked in the county records office for 25 years. The kind of woman who knew every file, every code, every dusty law that time forgot. I told her what I found. She didn't believe me at first. Then I faxed her the page. "Lord, Daniel," she whispered through the phone. "They missed 3 renewal filings. Oh, honey, you're sitting on a gold mine of karma." Martha helped me dig. Over the next few weeks, we pulled property deeds, ownership logs, and renewal filings. What we uncovered was jaw-dropping. The HOA had gotten so arrogant that they hadn't renewed any of their property ownership certificates for the past 3 years. All the common areas, the lakefront mansions, the clubhouse, the boat docks, were legally unregistered, meaning they were eligible for reassignment, meaning I could buy them out from under the HOA. And that's exactly what I did. The first step was subtle. I formed a small landholding company under a neutral name, Hayes Development Group LLC. I filed the necessary purchase notices with the county clerk. Nobody blinked. Why would they? Developers were always buying and selling lots around the lake. But unlike the other buyers, I wasn't after profit. I was after justice. One by one, the properties started to transfer. The HOA never noticed because their board meetings were a circus of golf games and gossip. The county, meanwhile, approved my transactions since everything was filed under open law. I wasn't breaking any rules. I was simply using them. By the time they realized what was happening, I had legally acquired ownership rights to the very mansion lots where their board members lived. Including the HOA president's lakefront palace were over $3 million. When I finally walked back into their office, it felt like a movie scene. The same receptionist, the one who once looked down at me, nearly dropped her coffee when she saw me. "Mr. Hayes, do you have an appointment?" "No," I said, sliding a folder across the counter. "But they do." The HOA board was in a meeting when I entered. All of them sitting around a polished oak table, laughing over champagne. The president, Mr. Redding, went pale when he saw me. "Well, if it isn't our local cowboy," he smirked, though his voice cracked. "Here to cause another scene." "No scene," I said. "Just business." I dropped the stack of property transfer documents in front of him. "You'll find your mansions, the lakefront properties, and the clubhouse now belong to me. Legally filed, notarized, and verified by the county recorder's office." He flipped through the papers, his face turning from red to ghost white. "This is impossible." "Impossible?" I smiled. "That's what I thought when you stole my fun 500 acres. The room went silent. You could hear the clock tick. "You can't do this," one board member shouted. "Oh, I can," I replied, calm as ever. "Because, gentlemen and ladies, you failed to renew your ownership certificates. Under Section 8C of the County Property Statutes, any unregistered HOA held land becomes subject to public reassignment. And I, being a law-abiding citizen, took the opportunity." The next few weeks were chaos. Word spread like wildfire. News reporters camped outside the gates. Homeowners screamed betrayal. The same people who once called me that hillbilly who lost his farm were now begging me not to sell their homes out from under them. But I wasn't cruel. I wasn't like them. Instead of kicking anyone out, I offered every resident a fair deal. A chance to buy back their property directly from me at cost, without HOA interference. Most took it. A few tried to threaten lawsuits, but they didn't stand a chance. I had every signature, every timestamp, every file in order. And for those who didn't buy back, their luxury homes, the ones built on my stolen soil, were sold at public auction. The proceeds went toward rebuilding a local community center and funding scholarships in my grandfather's name. The irony, the HOA, the same people who prided themselves on community values, had been dismantled by the very laws they claimed to uphold. One evening, months after the dust settled, I stood on the hill overlooking the lake. The sun set in the same spot where my father used to take me fishing. The air smelled of pine and peace again. Martha drove up beside me, her old pickup rattling like always. She stepped out, handed me a coffee and grinned. "So, what now, land baron?" I chuckled. "Now, I'm just gonna enjoy the view. Maybe build a new home here. Something simple." She nodded. "You could have taken it all, you know. Kept the houses, the lake, everything." "I didn't want their world," I said quietly. "I just wanted my dignity back." She smiled softly. "You got that. And then some." But the story doesn't end there. A year later, I started a foundation, the Hayes Land Rights Fund. Its purpose: to help farmers, ranchers, and homeowners fight back against predatory associations and developers who think money equals morality. We've helped dozens of families since. People who were one signature away from losing everything. Sometimes they ask me why I didn't just burn the HOA to the ground when I had the chance. Why I didn't take everything from them like they did to me. And I always tell them the same thing, because revenge fades. But justice stays written in the records forever. When I walk the land now, I still feel my grandfather's presence. His calloused hands guiding the plow, his voice echoing through the valley. The land feels alive again, not because of what I built, but because of what I restored. The lesson: never underestimate the person you wrong, especially if that person knows the value of what you took. Sometimes the quietest ones carry the loudest storms. And sometimes, justice doesn't knock. It walks right through the front door, deed in hand, and smiles. Final message to viewers. Though for the YouTube close-out narration also. If you're watching this and someone's taken something from you, your land, your voice, your peace, don't give up. Don't stoop to their level. Learn the rules, play the long game, and let justice speak for you. Because when truth stands on solid ground, no HOA, no board, no mansion can stand against it.